What is up guys, the Strong Boys 19 here. This is the next review for Pink Floyd's discography, and I know it has been a year since I had last reviewed their previous album, but I decided to come back into Pink Floyd's discography since I really want to promise to myself and to you guys that I will finish these incomplete discographies throughout this year. So with that being said, this is the review for Pink Floyd's 10th studio album entitled Animals. Animals is the follow-up to Wish You Were Here, which came out in 1975 to critical and commercial success, high positive reception, which was a concept album that was a dedication and a tribute to their former bandmate Syd Barrett. But like the previous albums of Dark Side and Wish You Were Here, Animals is a concept album, and this is where Roger Waters goes to a much more darker and political direction in Pink Floyd's material. And Roger was inspired by a novel from George Orwell from 1945 called Animal Farm. So he took inspiration from that book, and the album really consists of tracks that describe these kinds of people as animals, hence the tracks of dogs, pigs, and sheep. The album consists of 5 tracks, it's 41 minutes in length, and again, it got positive reviews, went to number 2 in the UK and number 3 in the US, but this was where Pink Floyd at this time were going to change once again, and Roger had started to have a bit of an ego on himself, and Richard Wright did say that Animals was not a fun record to make, and this was a Pink Floyd album that Richard Wright sadly did not get enough credit for, which is a huge shame because he is really one of the founders and important members of Pink Floyd since the very beginning. But anyways, the 2 tracks that are like bookends, Pigs on the Wing parts 1 and 2, are short songs that Waters wrote for his wife at the time, Caroline Christie, and they are some really nice, gentle, strummed, acoustic, folky guitar pieces of music. And part 1 opens the album up with a mood that sets the tone for the rest of this album. However, after hearing part 1 of Pigs on the Wing, the record immediately changes into a very dark and sinister sound with Dogs. Dogs is a 17-minute epic from Pink Floyd, and this is one of my favorite tracks on this album. It is pretty much my favorite track on here. It still remains as one of the band's most longest tracks since Atom Heart Mother and Echoes. It starts beautifully with some acoustic guitar playing. David Gilmour's voice on this track are absolutely fantastic, and they were powerful with emotion. His guitar playing on this is just simply amazing, and even the harmony guitar solos when the tempo changes to a slower pace. But the quiet instrumentation after the line "dragged down by the stone" was just absolutely outstanding. It is chilling and spooky with Wright's ambient sounding keyboards with the word stone from Gilmour's vocals repeated non-stop on a loop in the background. So after that part, the acoustic guitar comes back in with more of the lyrics, lyrically based on the business people, and it really deals with its anger and sadness, and Gilmour's vocals portrayed the lyrics so well from start to finish. And not gonna lie, Roger Waters' vocals on this entire album, it may have some of its innocence to it, but it has its own kind of delivery. Not as like Gilmour's, but Roger's vocals have a set of tone from his own voice as well. Pigs 3 Different Ones is a less darker track, and less aggressive than Dogs, because Dogs is more of a striking cinematic song. And the three different verses on this track are based on the politicians that run the society at the time, and it has a bluesy kind of sound. And once again, Gilmour's playing is sublime, and this is the only Pink Floyd track that Gilmour used a talk box to imitate the sound of a pig. And again, like Dogs, it feels structured and tight like the last track. Sheep is, for me, my least favourite song on this album, but it doesn't mean that it's bad. It is another brilliant track to follow up the last two previous songs. Begins with the sound of sheep, and then Richard Wright's keyboard sound pops in, builds and builds and builds until the band really kicks in, and the instrumentation is perfect. Some really great musicianship and performances, and also Nick Mason's drumming on this album remains consistent throughout, and to keep everything in time with a lot of punch and kick. I'm not going to go really into a lot of the politically charged lyrics on this album, but I recommend a video from a YouTuber, Lai Likes Music, who made a video called Understanding Animals, and that video, I say, pretty much sums up the concept behind Animals, so I will leave a link in the description below. It is a very interesting watch. The more I focused on it, the more I got to understand the concept of Animals even more. The album finishes with Pigs on the Wing Part 2, a closing track to finish off the same structure as Pigs on the Wing Part 1, with different sets of lyrics, but it's on a less moody and more on a uplifting note. And I think it really sums up the sound of the album to finish an album this aggressive and intense on a very gentle note. I really still consider Animals to be one of Pink Floyd's best albums, and I wouldn't really consider it to be like one of the best albums of all time. Some Floyd fans really cite it as one of their top best albums or their best album, but it's not one of those albums that I would listen to constantly. It's not that I'm a political person, and I am never ever a political person myself, but I really do like the album for its production, its songwriting, and its execution. It has some of the band's best instrumentation they've ever done from their entire career from here on out. So let me know what you think of Animals in the comments below, and this album will still continue on to be, yet alone, a big divided concept album, but still remains by many Floyd fans as one of their iconic and best. And the album cover, by the way, is a photo of the Battersea Power Station in London with the balloon inflated pig on the cover, done by Storm Thorgerson, and that's one of my all-time favourite album covers. There was always something about that cover that I just love. I love its atmosphere. It looks striking to me, and that album cover really presents the mood for this entire album. With that being said, I'm just going to end the review off right here, and I'm going to give Animals by Pink Floyd a 9.5 out of 10. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll keep you guys posted for more videos in the near future.